Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu is on the other side. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend this past weekend as the Houston Astros, I guess they didn't have a good weekend. Losing two out of the three games against the Kansas City Royals. Two of them were very identical. Two wins for Kansas City, 2-0 were their scores. But episode 253, a new leadoff hitter for the Astros. There's been talk about Jose Altuve and Jeremy Pena, and we're going to talk more about that later on this show. But the objectives, real quick, we're going to go with the recap of that KC series, not to talk too much about it. Obviously, game one has ended today on Space City Monday for the Astros going against the Detroit Tigers. We'll talk that. Jeremy Pena, the leadoff spot, being the biggest thing I would say that's going to be talked about in this episode preview of the two matchups against the Detroit Tigers, Astros injury updates, and we'll see if we have time for around the horn because the Houston Rockets are playing right now, and we will say both of us are late just because of that reason. I mean, it's a big
Trying to get
series.
to
Might as well
halftime.
go to
Yeah,
State Warriors.
yeah.
See, look,
Halftime's
he's
what
already
48,
distracted right now.
47 seconds to halftime. So
So yes, we'll try to get this going, smooth sailing. Then you could be able to watch that third quarter, that fourth quarter, because it's crazy that Houston and Golden State have to play at 9 p.m. Central on a Monday night. That's the one thing I don't like.
California, okay, it's a California time. So that's what.
Yep. But your Houston Astros are 15 and 13 as their record in the AL West. They are second place as of right now. The Seattle Mariners are 16 and 12. Like I said, Houston's 15 and 13 with one game back. The Athletics are 15-14, as well as the Texas Rangers with a 1.5 game back. And the Los Angeles Angels are 12 and 15 with 3.5 games back of the American League West standings. It's pretty impressive for the Astros. And I will even say, too, the Seattle Mariners. I didn't think they were going to be really on top of top. I would see them more of a second and third place team. But, I mean, like I said, they got good pitching. Kyle Riley's hitting the ball over there. Julio's not heated up yet. Randy Arozarena is hitting as well. But pitching is going to keep them going. And that's what's really happening for the Houston Astros, I would say, through this season so far. 15 and 13, their overall record. What is that? 20 through 28 games, which is not bad. And Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz, Jordan Alvarez have yet to click. I will say a little bit more for Christian Walker. I think he's found his groove a little bit here and there. But them three guys, once they start getting going, I think it's going to be really good for Houston to put themselves in a better spot in this division.
Yeah, you kind of hit it nail on the coffin there. The Astros pitching has kept them in a lot of games, and actually was why they won. This Kansas City series was kind of crazy because the pitching did everything they had to do. I know for Fran Valdez, you know, 2 innings. I'm sorry, two runs allowed, and so did the other pitchers. But the off, shout out to the pitching over there in Kansas City because they have an elite squad over there too, and that's literally what the difference maker was. But the Astros haven't kicked on all cylinders yet, but they showed glimpses, and I would say I know you're about to recap it in a little bit, but this Tigers game was an example of the hitting, picking up the pitches. I think they owe them one. Like I think they're making it up from the Kansas City series there because uh they really helped Ronel Blanco out. And once this office can figure it out, maybe there's a move that just happened that could be fire something up. But I think once they figure it out, this is a scary team. This is a division winning team. I think so far.
Yeah, we've always talked about it. This is a team that can easily win their division. And honestly, if they can get their bats going with the dominating pitching that they have right now, the bullpen, not to mention as well, has been doing a fabulous job. Defense all around the infield has looked good, including the outfield. I mean, this team is looking really good to put themselves in a great spot to take over this AL West. It's just once those middle part of the order, them hitters, like we had mentioned with Diaz, Walker, Alvarez, um, it'll be interesting with this new lineup structure what Spada had in this game against the Detroit Tigers. Once they get going, I think it's going to be really good for this team. And before we start, you want to let everybody know where they can follow us. Then I can get to this Tigers and we get to that KC recap real quick.
Of course, you can find us on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. On X, TikTok, and YouTube, we're FSA. I'm sorry, Full Steam Ahead. Instagram, FSA at Full Steam Ahead. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. but yeah, just share it out. I think we bring you the best Astros content. We're always up to date on things and stuff like that. So, spread the word. Tune in every recording. I know we're a little late this time. It was for a good cause, though. Uh, yeah. So we couldn't record yesterday, but here we are, getting you the best Astros content today.
Most definitely. Astros are 7. They have won 7 of their last 10 games, which is very impressive. They lost that one game against the Padres in their last home stand, and then they lost 2 on the road in Kansas City. So you got to be pretty optimistic how this team is playing as of right now. Let's recap game 1 of this series against the Detroit Tigers, and let's start off with the offense. We usually start off with the pitching, but man, the offense looked really good. Jeremy Pena, 2 for 4. And we're like I said, we'll talk more about his leadoff spot. Jose Altuve, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs, including a home run. Jordan Alvarez, 1 for 3 with an RBI. Christian Walker, 1 for 4, 2 RBIs with that moonshot as well. If you saw that, look at that. That's 1 through 4. And you add these numbers up, which I'm doing the math in my head right now. 6 for 15, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. And they won this game 8-5, I believe.
Yeah,
So from that part of that lineup, and not mentioning too, the whole lineup in general got a hit in this game except Chas McCormick. So very impressive there going against Jack Flaherty, who's a really good pitcher coming from a World Series championship team. You got to be pretty, happy about the way and the results that this team played today.
absolutely. And like especially against Jack Ray, like you said, this is the guy that's been pretty dominant for the Tigers. Him and Terry Scuball have shown great promise. Continuing, what they already do, like just those seasoned veterans. But the Astros did a great job taking advantage of the opportunities. And you know, I, I've always said I've always been a big fan of Jordan Alvarez at the two spot, just because my argument has always been having your best hitter um, at the second spot. Well, I'm sorry because I forgot about Jose Altuve. Because is easily one of the best hitters the Astros have, and uh, so far it works out there. I mean, it worked out day one, I guess you can say, and if that's what's gonna take for this lineup to flip to get hot, and by all means, Joe Espada, I'm sure is gonna run it again. I'm sure I'm 99% sure he's gonna have that same lineup tomorrow too. Just because
Yeah.
it like if it worked, if that's gonna wasn't make a change, then why change it? Like I think he'll leave it there until either a guy needs an off day or you know they're not hitting again. But I just think they did their job, and that's that's what the Astros office can do. Put up 8 runs on a great bullpen and great starter.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like you say. 18 and
Mhm.
10 too. By the way, Detroit was coming into the series against the Astros, which I'm really ready to talk about the Jeremy Pena and Jose Altuve
Okay.
talk because that's man, this is a good lineup that Joe Spada has restructured of the batting order for Houston. But let's talk about the pitching real quick. Ronel Blanco, 5 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He did give up 2 home runs, but the biggest number I would say in this stat for him, 19 swing and misses.
Mhm.
Wow, that's never been a number for Ronel. 19 swing and misses is pretty damn impressive. But the reason why he had that because he had a great mix of his pitches throughout this game, keeping hitters off balance. The only mistakes, like I mentioned, 2 home runs, given one to Kerry Carpenter, which were both of them were four-seam fastballs that he gave up the home run. But breakdown of the pitch mix that he had thrown today against the Tigers: 27 sliders, 27 four-seam fastballs, 19 curveballs, 4 changeups, and we've talked about how dominant his changeup has been, and we talked about too. He's going to have to kind of mix his pitches a little bit more instead of going and depending on the changeup and the fastball. And sure enough, he did that. And look what the results were.
Yeah.
Majority of his four seamers and his changeups were all to left-handed hitters. And this team, speaking of the Tigers, is very left-handed heavy, I would say.
Uh, Another thing, the reason why I'm sure he threw a little bit more curveballs and a little bit more sliders is because they worked. They were effective. Why? Because he just missed off the play when he had to. Uh, when I was talking to a manager earlier, this thing is like a big thing for his pitcher is like you still have to get out in the strike zone, right? So what that means is like you're locating the corners, you're hitting those spots, and he did that great. Where once you can establish that you can throw your slider for a strike, then you can extend that zone a little bit, and then you'll get those swings and miss stuff. So a lot of stuff with Ronald Blanco is that he wasn't be able, like in previous starts, is that he hasn't been able to throw his breaking balls for strikes. And if you can't do that, hitters are not going to bite because they know they can't locate it. But the fact that he was able to do this start again, once you can hit those corners, then you can extend the strike zone out and get those swings and misses. That's exactly what he did. A lot better command for him is breaking ball stuff this outing.
Yes, and then the other number two walks, and we've talked about if he has 3 walks or less, then
I'll say
Ronel
even
Blanco is
less than
pitching a
three
good
walks.
game. Say it again.
I would even say less than 3 walks. Maybe keep it two or less.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, 2 or less is yes, but we've talked about his average of walking people last season
Hmm.
were about 3 to 4. I would say 4 was
Yeah.
probably more the bigger number than 3. However, 3 earned runs and them starts at home, which he's pitched really well at Dyken Park so far this season, and he's didn't get the win obviously in this game, but you're very encouraged with the way he's continuing to pitch. Like we mentioned before, with Lance McCullers Jr. coming back, who's going to be the odd man now? Is it going to be Ronel Blanco? Is it going to be Brian Gusto? We'll just have to continue to monitor that. But the bullpen did a really good job. Stephen O'Curd threw 1 scoreless inning, 1 strikeout. Brian King went 2 of a third, 1 walk and 1 strikeout. Brian Abreu 1 1/3, a strikeout. Caleb Port's coming back from injury, so he did give up 2 earned runs, 1 base hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. And Josh Hader, who's been lights out this season, man, very good closing games out, giving up only 1 hit and 2 strikeouts. So bullpen did his job. Ronell did a good job. The Astros offense was able to come through, and sure enough, they would take game one against the Detroit Tigers. Because if you remember, last time Detroit came to Houston, and the Astros got swept in that little mini wild card series against the Tigers. So best believe I think the Astros were coming into this game with some vengeance.
And something interesting we talked about in the previous podcast about Brian King, how great he's been, and you talked about if the Astros should have him in that 7th spot, and that's what happened today. I know it was because it was a close game when he came out. It was a what 3-4 run game when he came in before that little mini explosion in the 8th, right? So he came in you know, in a good situation to kind of sh- show a spot that he could be in that 7th spot, and I think he allowed a run, but overall we did pitch pretty good. Oh, he
No,
didn't allow a run.
he didn't
That was
allow a run.
Lord.
Only
That
Caleb Port
that was Lord. Yes, that was Lord. Yeah,
giving up a hit and a walk.
yeah, but
So yeah, I mean Brian King's made a good, like I said, he's made a good position to put himself in that 7th spot. He's done a really good job. I think it's just rare that you would see a left-handed pitcher be in that 7th spot. It's more right-handed dominant, but the way he's been pitching, the way Kurt's been pitching, not to mention Ben Sousa's been pitching, all these lefty relievers that the Astros have been very dominant in that bullpen for them. And like we've mentioned, we continue to preach this more and more. Like, when was the last time the Astros had 4 left-handed relievers that Joe Espada can go to in some situations? So, done a really good
and
job.
they still have all the lefties combined still have a 1.03 ERAs just to show how great they've been.
Yes, and like Dana Brown has done in every offseason, has gone to look for a reliever that can look into a minor league contract or a non-roster invitee. And sure enough, look what happened last season with Taylor Scott, and look at what's happening this year with Stephen O'Curd. Man, they've been just O'Curd's been very impressive. Of course, everybody knows the way how Taylor Scott has pitched, but yeah, I mean, your Houston Astros took game one of that series. We'll have that preview here in just a second, but we're going to recap that KC series real quick, and we're going to combine game one and game two together just for the fact that the Astros did lose both those games 2-0. Let's start off with the pitchers. Hayden Wesneski and Framber Valdez. They did their job, didn't give up a lot of runs. Wesneski went 5 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. That's very rare to see on a
Yeah,
Wesneski start. Even six swing and misses. This has to be the least he's gotten in the game between swing and misses and strikeouts. I've never seen it this low for him in any start so far. It's been, I believe he's had 5 starts or 6 starts with Houston. But he did his job. 5 innings, 2 earned runs. That's what you can do for a starting pitcher at the end of the day. It's just your offense. What can they do for you? And really for the offense for game one, I'll say Isaac Paredes was the one that looked that standed out in this Astros lineup, had a multi-hit game. However, I will say the Astros were hitting the ball really hard. It was just into some bad luck. And at the end of the night, and on StatCast, the Astros led top exit velocity category. Cam Smith, 105.9 off the bat. Jose Altuve follows with the same number. And then Jose Altuve, 104.7. Isak Perez, 104.5. And Victor Caratini, 104.1. So, like I said, it's just tough. You're hitting into some tough luck. But then again, like Angel had mentioned in the beginning, Seth Lugo, when you have a 10 pitch arsenal and have some great ball movement on your off speeds, man, it's going to be tough for hitters to try to find, to get away with him.
Yeah, Seth Lugo again hasn't really had the best outings, but he showed what he can do on any given day and any given outing. Like it's hard, like you said, it's hard to hit a guy with 10 pitches. He can that he's comfortable to throw at any count to any hitter, right or left. So, but again, the Astros put up some great at bats. It's just a little misfortune there, but and they did what they had to do. Like the pitchers showed out, even though Wisniewski allowed 8 hits, 0 walks. So at that point, you got to tip your cap to the Royals because they were able to you know, hit those mistakes that they had, and it wasn't very many, and it just take the game. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and not to mention, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows in the baseball world, but Seth Lugo was a finalist for American League Cy Young last year, so he's still dominant on that mound. And sure enough, he just had the Astros hitters off balance, and it was kind of a mix of that with some bad luck for the Astros. So we'll move on to game two, though. But Framber Valdez, and I did call this. You cannot tell me I didn't call this, Angel. I said Framber Valdez was going to go 7 innings in this game with a quality start. Sure
Yeah,
enough, he answered the call. 8 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 11 swing and misses, 10 ground outs for the ground out specialist. And he hasn't pitched over 7 innings since opening day against the Mets. And that is his only win so far this season. As of right now, he is 1-3 this season. He has yet to receive a win since March 27th. So it was good to see him pitched really well against the Royals. Not to mention, too, the bullpen didn't even get used in that game because he went all 8 innings for the Astros. He only ended up pitching 100 pitches at the end, but just kind of like on game one, game two, the Astros offense just wasn't there. Another multi-hit game for Isak Paredes, Christian Walker with the double. Pena, DeZenzo, and Dubon each had a single. Though Astros were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Had 5 players in scoring position with 2 outs. Not to mention the Astros have been doing a really good job hitting with runners in scoring position with 2 outs, but 1 for 9 just couldn't get it done against Michael Walker and that Royals bullpen.
yeah. Just I really I kind of hit on it in the beginning. It's a tough road test. The Kansas City Royals are a great team, and shout out to their pitching again. Just they had a game plan. They executed Michael Walker as well, and they shut the Astros out twice. I think again, just making their pitches that they needed to do, hitting the spots that they did. The Astros again put up a good fight. It's just those situational hitting, like not getting a hit at the right moment at the right spot, or trying to make something with 2 outs, and that's really what happened with this game.
Yeah, and we did mention too from the last episode the Royals don't score a lot of runs. They've been struggling to score some runs this season. I believe they're like averaging about 3 to 2 runs in a game so far in 2025. And this was like I said, was a winnable series for the Astros. Obviously, winning game three, but man, when your starting pitchers put you in a good spot and a good position to have a game that's 2-0,
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a good spot, but at the end of the day, the Royals pitching just did a better job, and Astros hitters couldn't get nothing going in game two. Obviously, game one, I believe it was like 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position with 2 left on base. So didn't get a lot of men on base in the first game. Game two, they just couldn't get that big hit, like you mentioned, Angel. And moving into game three, the Astros offense were scoreless for 26 innings, taking you back from the third game of the Toronto series to the series finale against the Kansas City Royals. And we have a scoreless streak on for the Astros on the pitching side, and that was Hunter Brown. He is the baddest boy in town. Have you heard about Leroy Brown being the baddest boy? Well, Hunter Brown right now, baddest boy in town, and I will not say for the American League, but I would say for Major League Baseball in general. AL and NL. 6 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 12 swing and misses. He led this game in top pitch velocity. We'll go from the bottom. 97.8 miles per hour,
At the
98.5.
bottom.
Yep, we're starting from the bottom. 99.1, 99.2, as well, following that as a 99.2. So he was throwing gas. That's why they call him Diesel for a reason. And I mean, he really looked good, pitched well, hit his spots, location, command, mixed his pitches, of course, really good. And like we say, all things come to an end. And sure enough, Hunter Brown's scoreless streak came to an end. And his scoreless innings streak snapped at 28 in his start against Kansas City. Per Elias, his streak ranks as the fifth longest by a national starter in franchise history. Real quick, you want to give me them four in front of him?
Nolan Ryan probably.
Nolan Ryan's not on the list.
Oof. Uh, the, I don't know, call him the Diesel. Let me get in there workhorse. Maybe Roy Oswald in there.
Of course, the Wizard is on that list. He leads in number one. One more guess, and then I'm gonna read the list.
Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens is not on the list. Roy Oswald led it, 32 in an inning and a third in 2008. J.R. Richard follows with 31 innings in 1980. Don Wilson, 29 innings in 1967. Daryl Kyle, RIP, 28.2, which two and a third innings pitched in 1993. And Hunter Brown puts himself in the franchise books, being number 5 on the list, 28 innings in 2025. I mean, he's looked really good. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Hunter Brown and the way he's been pitching these last starts and really the whole month of March and April. So hold on tight, Angel. I'll give you some your thoughts here in just a second. Real quick, we'll go with the offense. Jordan Alvarez, man, he broke that streak because, like I said, 26 innings without a run for the Houston Astros. Well, Jordan broke that with a 436-foot dead center 3-run homer to break the scoreless streak. Finished with a multi-hit game. Jeremy Pena, and this was the game that Jose Altuve had a day off. He did the leadoff spot, 2 for 5, have a day at the office with a double and 3 RBIs. Yiner Diaz, because the Astros need this guy to get going. That slugging, that OPS needs to go up. Right now, I believe the OPS is about 600. It hasn't broke 700 yet. So hit an opposite field home run for his second home run of the season. The Astros are, like I said, they're going to need him to get his slugging and, get them extra base hits. And Chas McCormick, who hasn't played a lot of baseball this season, with a nice day at the office as well, finished 3 for 4 with 3 runs. The key stat of this game for game 3 was the Astros had 5 extra base hits, and 3 of them were with 2 outs with runners in scoring position. So the Astros did a fabulous job doing that. Like we had talked about, Jeremy Pena being the top of this order. Look what the Astros scored. They scored 7 runs in this game. So we're going to talk about here in just a second. But to finish off real quick, the overall thoughts of this series. I mean, there wasn't a lot to talk about with the offense. So we'll keep it simple in this series. And it was Hunter Brown. He has a legitimate chance of winning AL Pitcher of the Month. And it'd be crazy to not see him win this honor and this award. For the month of March and April, there's some stats. Brown is 4-1 with a 1.22 ERA. He's pitched 37 innings, only given up 5 earned runs in 6 starts in this month. Brown, who posted an MLB season-long streak of 28 scoreless innings, ranked second in the American League in ERA, tied for second in wins, third in WHIP with a 0.84, and tied for fourth in innings. Angel, would you be shocked if this guy does not win the American League Pitcher of the Month award? We've seen him get, I wouldn't say finessed from last year, because you remember he had the same start in either April or May, but he was dominating his starts and he did not get the award. Your thoughts? What do you think about him pitching so far this season through 6?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really dominant. He has a really great chance. His only competition, I think, would honestly be in the other side of Texas and in Dallas, and that's Taylor Mahia, who is in 6 games so far, 3-0, 1.4 ERA, 31 innings pitched, 26 strikeouts. So, but I think if just by the amazing work that Hunter Brown's done, by 28 scoreless innings, he ranks second in ERA, like you said, and third in WHIP. I think he has a really great chance. Dominant wise, I would say Hunter Brown has been, you know, again, like you said, like a limited chance, but he does have some competition on the other side of Texas.
Yeah, Tyler. Yeah, give credit to Tyler Mahle too, because I don't think anybody had seen him coming, and not to mention too the Rangers starters have the fewest earned runs as a team this season, so they've done a really good job. Of course, they got Jacob Degrom, but their offense is really killing them as of right now. Marcus Simeon's betting like a buck something. So, but Hunter Brown, real quick. I mean, looking at his arsenal: four seamer, sinker, changeup, knuckle curve, cutter, slider. And what's been really good is that four seamer, man, averaging 97.2 miles per hour. Expecting batting average is a 192. The batting average of it is 75.075. The WOBA 0.097. Whiff rate 29.2. I mean, he's just looked really good with that pitch. And then to add a sinker and a changeup. Sinker expected batting average 238. The changeup expected BA is 214. I mean, 27.3 is that whiff rate on that changeup. The spin rate as well for his knuckle curve is a 26.21. He's just been mixing his pitches very well. And I think that's been a key part of a good starting pitcher. You can't just rely on two pitches out of your five pitches. Four seamers this year, he's thrown 35.6%, sinkers 21.6, changeup of 15.9, knuckle curve 15.1, cutter 6.4, and a slider 5.4%. I mean, he's just done a really good job. When you go look at his StatCast on Baseball Savant, pitching run value 99 and fastball run value is 99. I mean, he's just done a fabulous job. As of right now, though, do you think the Astros are kicking themselves in the butt for not being able to negotiate a contract extension last offseason? Because in an article that I read from Chandler Rome, multiple sources from him had mentioned that Brown wanted to look into having an extension from last spring, but the Astros never got on with it and anything like that. Of course, that beginning of the season too, he was struggling. So, man, do you think right now does it look like a mistake for the Astros not to at least have some conversations with him this past offseason about a contract extension? To remind everybody as well, he is a Boris client as of now.
I would say so, just because Hunter Brown just got more expensive. That's for sure. Jim Crane's gonna have to open up those pocketbooks a little bit more if they do want to sign a section for Hunter Brown, because he's just been so dominant. And it's literally going back from last year too. Last year he had a really good season. Right now he's starting off with to a great season. So if he can keep these numbers up the way he's doing, and it's possible just because how dominant his fastball is in. I think it's under opponent batting average on the fastball is under 175, 0.75. Just, relying on his fastball to get him ahead of the count and mixing up with the off pitches. But yeah, I can see that because he just got more expensive. I think this is a guy that they could have secured for maybe a cheaper contract and then bring in, which was saving somebody and bring in somebody else. But I think now's the time for Hunter Brown, because if he continues on this road now, he's looking past maybe past the Max Fried contract, you know, maybe one of those big contracts that pitchers get. So I'd say if they are going to do it, now's the time.
Do you think it's the number one priority for Houston?
I know we
Going,
talked about
we're
it.
talking about this very early, I will say, but
Yeah,
going into this next offseason for
yeah,
Houston,
I would say so. And that's the thing we touched on last podcast too. I think that is on top of the list for the Astros. Getting a contract extension there, because that's if Robert does leaves, that's your Hunter Brown's your ace, and I'm sure you want to secure your ace, because you know you want to protect him and make sure he does what he has to do. Now, I could see something. I could see the Astros be a little weary of giving a contract to a pitcher just because of the whole Lance McCullers situation. I know he's been battling injuries. Now I can see that, but I just think Hunter Brown is like a different breed of pitching right now, and I think he's a power guy. The other thing you worry about a guy that throws so fast is how resistant is going to be that elbow route. So you just got to take a gamble on this one. I think the Astros need to take care of Hunter Brown so they can have a so you can have a good so you can have an ace for the rest of the year, like the rest of the season. So
I highly agree with that. 2025 so far, to talk about exit velocity, lowest so far is 86.1, as well as hard hit percentage 31, the strikeout rate 29.9. The next one in his career, which was in 22, was 27.5. The walk rate has tremendously gone down for him. It's so good to see this number if you're a starting pitcher. Walk rate in 2022, 8.8. 23, 8.3. 24, 8.4. Walk rate for this season so far is a 5.2%. And you've seen it in each start. He's only given up maybe one walk, max two. So his command has looked on point. And when you can do that as a pitcher, and like you mentioned, this guy can be the ace of this staff. Not to mention, he's making $807,400 because of the rookie contract. He'll be hitting arbitration for the first time next year in 2026, but he won't be a free agent until 2029. So that's why I'm asking, do you think it would be smart for Houston? You know what? Let's just buy out them arbitration years and let's get on with this new contract for you and pay you what you honestly deserve.
yeah, I mean they should. I honestly think they should.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what that looks like later on in the future. But the future of the Astros having a leadoff hitter looks like it's going to be Jeremy Pena. So far, has led off for Houston in back-to-back games from the finale in KC and as well as the Detroit series. And I think Jose Altuve is a fan of it, dude. And we talked about, and you've mentioned too, your number two hitter should be your best hitter. And you've mentioned Jordan Alvarez. And we talked about when it came to projecting the Astros lineup, spring training, Jeremy Pena had a great spring training. If he was going to be the guy to see him as a number one in the leadoff spot, you put him in the ninth spot, then you could put Altuve back on one. And sure enough, Jeremy Pena looks like he might have the spot as the Houston Astros leadoff. But Altuve did bring up the idea of being in the two spot for himself, not Pena, but for Altuve. If Spada had asked him why, and to quote, this is from Chandler Rome's article, not to mention, or not article, on his Twitter's page. So according to him, Spada asked why, and Altuve responded with, "I think that gives me a little time to get from left field to home plate." Also, Altuve laughed about it too, that he needs like 10 more seconds. Astros manager Joe Spada did mention that it was Jose Altuve's idea to hit second. Before I play this video of the interview from Jose Altuve earlier today, how is that run from left field to the opposing dugout, or just the dugout in general? Speaking more for the first base side, because that's a big ass run that these guys have to do.
Yeah, especially when I do something, I hate it. It's like so far away. If like every time we get to the field, I always like being on the third base side just because I usually play right field. So I'm sorry, left field. So it's very easy to just get to the dugout. But it does make a difference. But I'm sure these guys are more conditioned than I am. So, but Altuve, being an older player, it whatever you can do to save the stamina a little bit, I think that's going to be helpful for him. So if he's comfortable in the second spot, I think that's as long as Jerry Pena is hitting, I think that's gonna. I see that trend coming up. But yeah, definitely, I think it does make a difference for sure.
Yeah, I think it does too. And we're gonna play this 2 minute video, just letting you know the duration of this video. But this is Jose Altuve talking about Jeremy Pena and having him in the leadoff spot and him being in the two spot for these Nationals.
I think it's going to give me more time to come back from left field. And, I think Jeremy's doing really good. He's very dynamic on the bases. So I think we're just, trying to make the team better. And I think this is going to be one of those teams where you're going to realize that our team is going to be better.
As the coming back in from left field, so has that been like a bigger change than you sort of?
I just need like 10 more seconds. Yeah, that's it.
Your idea to have Jeremy that leadoff, or?
Oh no! I just told Joe that maybe he, can hit me second some games.
Yeah.
At some point, and he did it today. So, like I said, I just need like that little extra time to come from left field. And he decided to put Jeremy. Jeremy is one of those guys that's been playing really good in our team. Like I said, he's taking really good at bats. He's very explosive and dynamic on the bases. So when he gets on base, it seems like a lot of things can happen. And, maybe I can run over so Jordan can drive him in.
Does that bring a different sort of element for you, just to hit with somebody on base and maybe make things happen on the base pass?
I don't know. I think my bats hasn't been really good the way I wanted lately. So, maybe hitting with him on base or whoever on base is gonna help me to get to the point I want to. And I hit second before. When Springer was here, I hit second for a lot of years. So I think that extra time is gonna help me, and to get a better approach.
Is the fact that it might take a little bit longer to get there from the outfield, is that something you never thought about? Obviously, you never had to.
I never thought about it. Like you said, I never had to, but I think I'm here to do whatever Joe tells me to do, and whatever the team needs me. They needed me on the left field some games, they need me on second some games. I'll be there. I think that just that extra 30 seconds coming from left is gonna really make me feel better than the home plate.
Are you trying a torpedo bat today?
They sent it to me. I don't think I'm gonna try it out.
Just sort of unrelated, but you're seeing a lot more sinkers this year. Are you noticing how many sinkers you're seeing, and is that an adjustment that you?
I didn't get in 50-50. A lot of sinkers, but a lot of fours too. So I think that's what are making, the game, so hard now, because everybody throws the 4 and the 2. So, the mix is like.
So yeah, that was from Jose Altuve on Jeremy Pena and being in the second spot. But I mean, he's 5'5", 5'6". I don't know what his actual height is, but I mean, of course, you're taking smaller steps compared to a guy like Aaron Judge and Fernando Tatis Jr. and all these other guys that are like 6'3", 6'5". And looking at his game logs, his last 15 games he's hitting 224, on base percentage 246, slugging 310. Last 7 games 214. He has a home run, 5 RBIs, which was today's game against the Tigers. The on base percentage is 267. When you put Jeremy Pena, which has been having a hot bat, reminding everybody, had a 14-game hitting streak going into Kansas City. Last 7 games, 10 for 26, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. The on base percentage is a 429. Last 15 games, slash line is 321, 367, 446. 18 hits out of 56 at-bats, a home run, 8 RBIs, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. How I see this number for Pena has been really doing good is the walk and strikeout ratio. 56 at-bats, he's only stricken out 9 times. Walk rate, of course, is not very high, but 4 walks and a guy that puts the ball in play that's going to give maybe some infield singles here and there, 18 hits. So, I mean, I'm not opposed for the Astros to put him in the 1 spot, because look what happened today. 2 for 4. Altuve brought in 3 RBIs for Houston, and he finished the game 2 for 4. So this lineup honestly makes a lot of sense for Houston, because they've always wondered who can they put in the second spot of this lineup to prevent putting Jordan in the 2 spot. And honestly, Isai Perez has done a fabulous job in the 2 spot. But if you could get a hot Jeremy Pena who's batting 315, whatever I had mentioned, in his last 15 games, and then you throw in Jose Altuve if Pena's in scoring position, followed by Jordan, followed by Isak, followed by Christian, I'm not opposed to the idea.
Yeah. My thing is that the most consistent hitters that the Astros have had this season is Jose Altuve and Jeremy Pena, and they've hit in 2 different spots, right? You have Jose Altuve getting on base, but yet sometimes he's left on base because he stock walks, and then the 3, 4, 5 guys haven't been able to bring him in, and you have Jeremy Pena, who's for the most part of the season been in the 5th, 6th spot now, moving up and land up in recent to the 4th spot. Now we've seen the lead off now, but those 2 consistent hitters they've had have always been really not hitting in the same inning at times, right? Because Jeremy Pena will either start the inning off or, end the inning there and stuff like that. So, but now that you have them back to back, the way Altuve, just Altuve does Altuve things. He has an opportunity for more RBIs because there was time he had a leadoff double and yet stranded on base, right? So now that leadoff double during Pena gets on, that's an RBI, right? So it's just giving Altuve more at bats to be productive. I think that's an amazing thing. And then he has backup behind him. Maybe Jerry Pena gets on base, he can't do it. You have, dude, imagine having Jordan Alvarez, Isaac Paredes, Christian Walker right behind you. If you can't do it, that's amazing to have right there to protect you, to pick you up when you can't do something there. And then you still have Yanni Diaz there, Cam Smith, Mauricio Dubon, who came in clutch today. Jake Myers has been pretty hot there. So once this lineup starts clicking, I think it's pretty scary. But I think it starts from the top, and if that's gonna if having Jerry Pena lead off is gonna allow you to get more runs just because you have more traffic on the base pass, by all means do it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Pena real quick. Batting second in 2022, he was 290. Only had 31 at bats in the leadoff spot, which is a pretty low number, 129 batting average. Real quick, I'm just look at 23, but in 2023, in the second spot, he was 266. Batting first, 212. I mean, of course, you can't judge a book by its cover, but he's done a really good job in that, at least in these last two games, hitting in the leadoff spot and giving Altuve a chance to bat second. Like Altuve had mentioned, he's batted second before from George Springer being in the leadoff spot all the time. And when you go look at his numbers in the two spot, man, it's some good numbers for a future Hall of Famer. 2019, he is batting 290. He was batting 292. In 2018, he was batting 293. So very familiar being in that two role. And like you mentioned, once this lineup gets clicking, like I had mentioned too, it's only 28 games in so far in the 162 game season. Once Alvarez gets in the field of things, like I mentioned, Christian Walker looks like honestly, he looks like he's getting back into his role, which I'm just gonna pull it up real quick. In his last 7 games, he's batting 269 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. 10 strikeout number is not really good, but getting them extra base hits really help out. And then Yiner Diaz, once you get them three guys clicking, and you could have a Jake Myers that's hitting really good. Of course, his defense is always there. Cam Smith, his bat's there, of course. Once this lineup gets clicking, like I mentioned in the very beginning, this American League West could be run up real quick by Houston. But it just depends on the top of the lineup, like you mentioned, dude. You're on mute.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just gonna get better from there, honestly.
Yeah.
Because once this lineup gets going, it'll be pretty scary.
Yeah. So I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a good little switch for Joe Spotter to put Jerry Pena up there just to see what it looks like. Isaac Paredes in the fourth spot. It's going to be interesting to see that uh, go through for him.
I mean, he has a lot of contact, so
He puts up
and
good at bats. He does.
yeah, and the reason why having Isaac Paredes in the fourth spot really doesn't bring an issue is you have Christian Walker right behind him. So he just today Isaac Paredes got on base. What did Christian Walker do? Had a 2-run shot. So although Isaac Paredes might not hit you a home run every day, might not be hitting those doubles every day, like those long singles. I mean, long as he gets on base, gives Christian Walker a shot.
Yeah, Isaac 1 for 3 today with a walk. So, like I mentioned, I mean, he puts up good at bats, quality at bats, going to make that pitcher work its count. And, you can tire the pitcher out just doing that. Getting that pitch count up in the first inning does wonders, does really wonders for the rest of the game. So, offense looks good. I think as long as Pena continues to hit, I think that spot is his. Like, I don't think it's anybody else's but his.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it time for the preaching preview?
It is definitely time for the pitcher.
Perfect. Just making sure if you had anything you want to say. But yeah, obviously I'm gonna do Mondays since you saw that preview already. Jack Flaherty and Ronald Blanco. That was a pretty good matchup there. The Astros they come back up from behind to win that game. But Tuesday it's a 7:10 start time. You see Reese Olsen versus Ryan Gusto, and I kind of like this matchup. Two young guys who are doing pretty good. Similar numbers there. This is a pretty interesting matchup to see. We have Reese Olsen who is 3-1 with a 3.29 ERA versus San Diego, which Houston saw San Diego earlier. Elite lineup they have there. 7.1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. This is back-to-back starts that Olsen has had without allowing a run. He does have a five pitch mix. He throws a sinker, slider, changeup, fastball, and curveball. However, he'll rely mostly on those sinker, sliders, and change to kind of, throw you off. He did throw a lot of fastballs a year ago, which kind of, I guess the reason why he's saying because his fastball was hit a lot. So now he's like relying more on movement, which is the sinker. And then he'll go against Ryan Gusto, who's also 3-1, but has a 2.78 ERA. Last start versus Toronto, 5.2 innings pitched, 3 hits, one and run, one walk, and six strikeouts there. Ryan Gusto, his last outing threw 87 pitches, 49 sinkers, 16 curveballs, 15 changeups, 7 sliders. So far, he's pretty done an amazing job. And I think he can continue that. It's a really great opportunity to take advantage of a Detroit lineup who has been pretty. I don't know, I know Riley Green hit 2 home runs today, but before that he was had batting in the low 200s or high 100s. So again, a struggling offense has a great chance to prove his point because now that Ronel Blanco is kind of finding it, now he needs to show the Astros that hey, I can be in this rotation too. So I think it's another interesting lineup. The thing with Ryan Gusto is he has had nothing easy. He's gone against San Diego, Toronto, and Detroit's no pushover either. They show you that they can score runs on anybody too. So it'll be an interesting matchup there. Really great young pitching.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just to add on, the Tigers have a 2.80 ERA. The Astros are second in the American League with a 3.18 ERA. So they're trailing the Tigers being in first, as well as the bullpen. Their bullpen, the Tigers' bullpen has been really good too. Um, then they have a 2.66 ERA. I'm looking at it right now, and the Astros do lead the American League with a 2.64. So it's kind of like it's going to be a pitcher's duel. But like you were mentioning, these are two young pitchers that are going against one being Houston being a more experienced team, but as well you can't sleep on the Tigers offense because look what happened last year in that American League wild card. I don't think anybody had seen that coming, at least for Houston Astro fans and where I'm speaking for them. However, the Tigers are very scrappy. They're really good. They're going to find a way. Riley Green's an all-star. Kerry Carpenter's has played in the league for a while now, so they got some good players. Spencer Torkelson's another guy. Javi Baez is another guy. They got a lot of good guys out there that can still swing the bat and kind of surprise you in that lineup.
Absolutely. And then if you think that out, that pitching duo is not exciting enough. You have Detroit's number one prospect Jackson Job going against Hayden Wesneski, and Jackson Job has been pretty good. But let's start with Wesneski's stats real quick. Wesneski is 1-2 with a 3.86 ERA. Again, his last outing versus Casey, just in case you missed it on Lorenzo touched on it, but he pitched 5 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 0 walks, 1 strikeout. And I think this is, I don't know, this has been his lowest strikeout number of his career for a start, but it's not what the Astros are used to seeing. But again, he still did a really great job of limiting the damage. I know 8 hits is pretty a lot, but only allowing 2 runs on that, that just shows how great his pitching is just to get hitters out. His last outing, he threw 80 pitches. The thing with Hayden Wesneski is he's gonna throw a kitchen sink. He's gonna throw all he has. He threw 25 fastballs, 18 sweepers, 10 changeups, 10 curveballs, 11 cutters, and 6 sinkers. You're gonna see everything with it. What makes Hayden Wesneski effective is that he can get outs in the strike zone. He threw 40 pitches in the strike zone, and he also um, batter swung at 38 of those pitches. So being able to get outs there really showcase the thing, but also why, sometimes when he doesn't look at pitches, he can get hit hard, which, those 8 hits, right? But when his pitches is moving, he's pretty phenomenal there. And he's going against Jackson Job, like I said, Detroit's number one prospect there. Number four in all of baseball. So far he's 2-0 with a 2.70 ERA. It's 20 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, 1.2 whip. He comes at the Astros with a 5 pitch mix, slider, 14 fastball, changeup, sinker, and curveball. This year, he's thrown the 14 fastball and the slider 105 times each. Doesn't matter if it's right-handed or left-handed. The changeups, again, throws it mostly to left-handed hitters, but not afraid to throw it to right-handers. Sinker, strictly right-handers, 0 times left-handed, and a curveball that he likes to throw. But his stuff has been great, especially his curveball. He's thrown it 31 times, has yet to allow a hit on it. His slider, opponent batting average of 1.115. And then his put away pitch is usually his changeup. It has a whiff rate of 42% and 15%. 42% whiff rate and put away percentage as 15. So I guess the story of all the pitching matchups is pitching matchups, and the Astros have been getting everybody's best, and this is just another time of that. Yeah, they don't see Terry Scooba, but they saw Jack Flaherty. They're about to see Jackson Jobe, and Reese Olson has been pretty great too. So they're seeing every team's best.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if they've seen Reese Olson already. I know for sure Houston did see Jackson Jobe in that AL wildcard series. It was a critical matchup for him, a critical situation, I meant to say. I believe it was like a bases loaded situation. It was like in game two
I
of
remember.
that. It was a bullpen game for Detroit. And I think he got a big out in one of those
It's good
outings.
stuff.
I can't 100% go on that, but Jackson Jobe does have some electric stuff. And who's the thing for me is who's going to make the adjustment? Is he going to
Yeah.
make the adjustment from the last time? Because Houston got some footage on him from the last wild card series. Of course, that was last year. Now it's a new year, new him. See what he throws. I'm pretty sure they've seen some games where he's already pitched as a starter. But the biggest one I want to say is Wisniewski. I want to see him have a bounce back start. One strikeout is not him. He has a good whiff rate, a lot of swing and misses, only having six against KC. And I'm pretty sure too, Detroit's going to kind of be pesky and not try to chase on any of his pitches because a lot of his pitches go through the strike zone and tail out at the very end. So looking for Wisniewski to come back and see how that strikeout percent would look out coming against the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, the Astros are familiar with Detroit hitters, and they know how to work the count. So the pitchers are gonna have to be at their best, just like Reno Blanco was. This outing, Ryan Goose had to follow that up. So it was Nesky. So
Most definitely.
next we got some Astros injury updates, and it's getting closer for Lance McCullers. He pitched his third rehab start in Corpus Christi. He went 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned one walk, 7 strikeouts. I think you're a Nationals fan. You're pretty excited for that stat line, even if it's just double A. Sorry. He threw 71 pitches, 45 strikes, 3 groundouts, 3 flyouts. And the most important thing, yes, the stat line, even if it was ugly, I think, you're still excited for Lance McCullers, but it was great. But the most important thing is that he felt really good. That's what he said, right? After throwing his third rehab start, Lance McCullers said he felt really good. Joe Espada said on Sunday that, and I quote, "We'll sit down here in the next day or two and figure out what's the next move." Now, he's thrown quite a few rehab starts this time. Do you think he's ready? Do you think the Astros are ready to see Lance McCullers in the big league rotation?
I think he gets one more rehab start. I honestly think so, just for the fact that because he had that little stomach bug
Mhm.
or the flu or whatever right there at that time, whenever he missed that start, I think that kind of pushed it back just a little, not too much, of course, because he did end up throwing a bullpen in either the next day or two. But I think one more rehab start would be just the end of it. And if that's the case, he's going to have this start coming up this weekend. He probably would pitch. And I think the Space Cowboys are in town, so he probably will go to Sugarland. I'm looking for him to target kind of to the 75 to 80 pitches role. And of course, when he comes
Yeah.
back into a Houston Astros uniform, he's going to probably be on a pitch count regardless. But optimism for the Astro fans that he feels really good after his starts. And like you had preached and always talk about, who cares about the stat line? As long as you feel better and you feel good coming out of your starts, then, that's a very encouraging sign. So I think more than likely another rehab start, and I can see him making his 2025 debut against the Chicago White Sox, which I think that'd be a good team to settle
Yeah.
for. I'm not trying to pick on them or anything like that, but I think that would be a good team to start for before facing let's say, like a New York Mets or Los Angeles Dodgers team.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. I think that'll be a good matchup for him to come back, but I think he's ready. I think he's close.
Mhm.
I will say this. I don't think he pitches less than 75 pitches if he does have another rehab start. I think he'll be 75 between 80. I think the Astros would love for him to go 80 just to show that he's almost ready. Because if you look at it, Ryan Gusto, Ronald Blanco, even when Wozniacki have usually been in the 80 pitch range, kind of there. So they haven't really extended those guys out. And that might be because of last year. Last year they struggled to get those innings late in the game. So, especially Ronald Blanco, who kind of felt fatigued at this. He had to throw a lot that first half. So maybe that's what they are trying to do kind of sit them around 80, 90 pitches, just to kind of, get them ready. I would say some few exceptions. I would say Hunter Brown or Valdez are going to go everything they got every time out just because they're used to that. But like the bottom end of the lineup might be a little, little pitch counter here and there. But another guy who's coming back, Sean Dubin, actually pitched in the same rehab start as McCullers. He pitched right after him for the Corpus Christi. He went 1 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, 2 strikeouts, 20 pitches, 13 of them strikes, which is, I mean, pretty good to see there that he's able to command the strike zone a little bit. Yeah, 1 run. So what, right? As long as he comes out healthy after that. And Forrest Wiley, I know Astros fans got to see him pitch this season for a short time, but now he's been placed on the 15-day IL with a left knee sprain. Right-handed pitcher Caleb Ort was returned from the rehab assignment and has been reinstated from the IL. Per Matt Karakawa, Forrest Whiteley's knee sprain is related to his injury this spring, which was termed a bone bruise. As father said, when he was playing catch yesterday, he put the knee again, so we decided to shut him down. Wiley will be reevaluated today, so we'll just wait to see what happens.
It's Whitley, not Whiteley.
Sorry, Whitley. Not fun.
Nah, but it's unfortunate, man. I think a lot of Astro fans are wanting to see him thrive and come back because he's been set back with a bunch of injuries. ACL, not ACL, Tommy John surgery, all that. Elbow, shoulder problems, and he had a great spring. Of course, he did he get hit by a comebacker in one of the spring training games? That's why he had that bone bruise.
I don't remember.
I can't remember at the top of my head, but yeah, like I mentioned, it's very unfortunate because he's been pitching really well. He had pitched a good 2 innings of scoreless baseball against the Toronto Blue Jays, and this is a guy that the Astros need. They need a right-handed reliever, and luckily Caleb Ort is coming back for the Astros. But you only have Caleb Ort. You got Taylor Scott, Logan Van Wy, Brian Abreu is already in the setup role, so I'm really not counting him, but I'm counting the other 3 guys because of being in one of the middle relief situations, having to come in the 5th, having to come in the 6th, the 4th, if anything. So yeah, it's very unfortunate for him, but as time will do, it'll hopefully, if you're a Nationals fan, you're having your fingers crossed that bone bruise will heal and nothing too dramatic would happen.
Yeah, but despite he's spoken and certainly he's beside Lance McCullers Jr., itching to come back, the Astros are in a good spot. So I know Astros fans, you shouldn't panic or anything like that because second place in division after not playing the best baseball, the Astros have played again usually slow starters, but last year they were close to last place, having to come up now in second place, and they again, like I said, still haven't played the best baseball there. So they're in a good spot. Once this rotation starts to get going a little bit better, well, the injured pitchers start coming back, offense starts to click a little bit more. I guess the whole theme of this podcast is the Astros have a chance to win the division once everything gets going.
Yeah, and as of right now, too, like I mentioned, if you weren't here in the beginning, I'll read the standings real quick. In the American League West, the Mariners are 16-12. Astros are next with 15-13. Athletic and Rangers are tied for third, 15-14, and the Angels are 12-15. So this division, man, is still up for grabs, and it's still going to be up for grabs for good while. We're still in the early parts of baseball season. And of course, we won't be able to see what kind of looks like going into the trade deadline. That's where you're more than likely are going to see what the Astros are going to need. Are the Astros in a good spot? How the division looks? Is it looking like it's wide open, or if it's looking like somebody's carrying it away? So we won't have nothing to see until probably more during that time of the summer. But
that's it, right?
Yeah, that is the end.
Go Rockets.
Go Rockets. But yeah, real quick, if you haven't seen us on social media, make sure you go follow us on X, FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram, Full Steam Ahead on TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so. I mean, literally our audience is coming from Twitter. So if you haven't done so, make sure you go hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and like button. Then you won't miss some of the content we will be coming out this coming homestand for the Houston Astros. And of course, if you don't want to look at our pretty faces, you can listen to our beautiful voices on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you leave us a review, leave us a rate, leave us some comments, give us some feedback, how we're doing and what we can improve on. Because, of course, we're continuing to learn every single day in this beautiful world. Cantu, any final thoughts, last words you want to say before we sign off? Because I know you're ready to watch this Rocky game. I am too. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, it's just thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you for watching the Rockets and listening to us as well, because I know I think half we are doing that. I would assume, but yeah, we appreciate you all the support. Appreciate you spreading the word, and just thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, I don't have the score on me, but
Yeah,
the
it's
Warriors were
80
up.
82, 80
Oh,
82. Golden State is up.
okay. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll give you the recap of that Detroit Tigers series. We'll let y'all know on Twitter. If you don't follow us, make sure you go out there and find out. More than likely, either Wednesday or Thursday. Keep you posted. Of course, we'll get you ready for that preview against the Cincinnati Reds coming into Daikin Park. But until then, y'all have a safe week. Have a great start to your week as well. And we'll talk soon.
Peace.